Welcome back to the Exhaust Note podcast. I'm Brynn, and this is Marci. I contacted you because of your job at Amalgam Models. Tell us a bit about Amalgam.
Well, Amalgam Collection is based out of Bristol, UK, and they are undoubtedly the finest car model builders in the world. And I am proud to be a brand ambassador for them. And this has just been such a wonderful experience for me so far.
Yeah, so Amalgam makes, like you said, extremely high detail models, some of which are 8 scale or even quarter scale they've made in the past. Walk us through how these models come to be.
So, our design engineers do a lot of research on models of cars that they would like to capture, right? So, when we put our thought into building a model, so many different aspects come into play. Was the car a championship car? Did it win Le Mans? Did it win a special event? Or is it a classic car? Or is it a modern GT car that's just that wow factor? So when the design engineers decide that, then they go into the research phase. The research phase of any model we make can take hundreds, if not thousands of hours to make sure that we literally get every single detail captured in the car that we make. And then beyond the research, once the research has been done, then it goes into the build process, which could take 300, 400, 500 hours to build, depending on the model. Some of these models are well over 1,000 components that have to be hand put together and so forth. So it's a pretty intense build process.
One of the options that you can pick when buying one of these models is weathering.
Weathering is a neat added option for the models because sometimes people want to capture how the car crossed the finish line, right? So how beat up it is and whether there was duct tape on the lights or just all the rubber streaking against the paneling of the car and so forth. So depending on the enthusiast, some like the neat and shiny and polished version, and some people like that just weathered and really the gritty look to a car that has crossed the finish line after a long race.
So, what kind of technology is used to design these models?
So we, after the research phase is done, there is a lot of research into the written archives of the cars as well. Photography is needed. We use CAD data to bring everything together. So there's 3D printed components, there's high quality resin, there's some rubber components to the models. And so we also use the actual car paints from the manufacturer. So we get the paint codes from the manufacturer. For instance, this Ferrari behind me, this SP3 is certainly a very shiny and beautiful version of one of our models, but we definitely have the approval and the endorsement and the licensing from Ferrari to use all of their paint codes. And we do that with all the luxury brands that we make.
Do you have a favorite model out of everything Amalgam's made?
It's the one I have at the moment, usually, because every single one outdoes the other, it feels like. I have been showing more recently the F80 Ferrari, which just is breathtaking. And now recently I have acquired in my consignment list this SP3. So it actually might be this SP3 right now. So as I get new models to show off and bring them out into the events that we do, it they really take people's breath away for sure. And so when I stand there and I look at these models, I'm just in awe, just like a customer would be. Last year I showed the GT40, and that was another one of my favorites. And we do the GT40 in a weathered version as well. So that was one of my favorites so far.
Before joining Amalgam, and I'm sure currently as well, you were a very avid racer. What was it like driving a Formula Ford car?
Oh, I miss it so much. So I started my racing career started at a skip barber school, and I did my first skip barber school at Laguna Seca, which could not have been a better track for me to catch the fever, if you will. So I learned car control. I learned a lot about the responsiveness of a Formula Ford, an open wheel car, open cockpit. No wings for downforce advantage, of course. And then I ended up doing SCCA racing, and I live in the Pittsburgh area, so I was doing a lot of the Northeast races like Mid Ohio and Watkins Glen and VIR. So as I grew with experience and learning the car control, of course, and respecting the car on the track and respecting the speed that you can get to on the track, I learned how to I took my competitive nature and put that to work when I got behind the wheel.
You also drove Formula Mazda. So, how is the Mazda different from the Ford?
The design of the Mazda, I went from Formula Ford with no wings, no downforce, to the Mazda that had the rear wing and the front wing. So there was definitely a difference in that respect. The Mazda was a 13B rotary engine, and so that was really a bulletproof engine in my opinion. And I really was able to, once I learned how to respect the car again, from moving from Formula Ford into Formula Mazda, it just was a logical transition to go from the not wing car into a wing car to do some more SCCA racing. And then I ended up making the runoffs one year at Mid Ohio.
You've been to a lot of Ferrari Challenge events.
Yeah.
Um, why Ferrari Challenge in particular?
Amalgam assigned me, my first assignment from Amalgam was the Ferrari market. So I could not have been handed a better market right out of the gate, right out of the starting gate. But ironically, and just by total coincidence, the Ferrari Challenge circuit became really my ability, my opportunity to reach out to dealerships as they were they're very concentrated in the paddock with Ferrari Challenge. So relationship building with Ferrari ended up it ended up coming through the Ferrari Challenge circuit, because another coincidental thing was my boyfriend, who runs this his racing shop here. He's actually one of the engineers for MG1 Motorsport and Ferrari of Seattle. So it really worked out quite well that I got to work the paddock with relationship building, and he's at work on the race cars with Ferrari of Seattle and MG1.
How did you first get into cars?
As a kid, my father was very influential in that. We would watch the Indy 500 together. We were big NASCAR fans as well. He was a Rick Mears fan and a Dale Earnhardt fan, and I just kind of just sat with my dad and kind of enjoyed this sports, Sunday sports and racing. And then I grew up on a farm, and so we had to use a variety of tractors and lawnmowers and things like that. And then I remember this very vividly. He told me that I needed to learn how to drive a car, and it had to be a manual transmission. And we lived on a hill, And he would, at a very young age, I think I was like 14, 13, 14, 15, he would put me in the car at the bottom of our driveway, and we'd go up the hill to our home, and he would make me stop on the hill, and so I could learn how to work the clutch on the hill. So at a very young age, he was adamant that if I could drive a manual, I could drive anything, and it still sticks with me today.
So do you think a manual is a important element in a sports car?
I think it's I think it's very important. I have driven many cars that are automatics and so forth, but there's nothing like driving a manual transmission and revving the engine and shifting gears. I just think it's the best way to drive a car personally.
Do you have a favorite automotive event that you've been to?
Ooh, great question. Being from Pittsburgh, we have an event called the Vintage Grand Prix, the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix, and it's every summer. It's in July, and we put on a really good show for the city of Pittsburgh. And it's a week long, full of events all around the city. And I really enjoy walking the concourse and seeing all the cars, all the marques together. So all the Porsches are together, all the Jaguars are together, the British cars, so it's really fun. The Italian cars. So they really do a nice job showcasing the different marques. And we get a really, really good turnout. It's one of the best vintage races in the country.
So it's similar to Goodwood Revival in a way?
So I haven't been there, so I can't speak to that.
Goodwood Revival is 40 or so vintage racing cars. It's a lot of it's along the lines of what you said, vintage Jaguars, the AC Cobra, and what have you.
Mhm.
And they get professional race drivers and they send them all out on the track for around half an hour.
Okay. So the difference here with the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix would be these are amateur racers on vintage cars that are pretty slow because they're on the streets of Pittsburgh. So they don't have the proper official race safety, the safety barriers like you would on a racetrack. So there are guidelines to how fast the cars can be. So that's probably one of the biggest differences that I hear.
What are some of the coolest cars that you've seen?
Oh, I'm a Porsche girl kind of through and through. So I've seen some really fun Porsches along the way. I personally owned a 911 4S and as a manual transmission, and that was amazing. I've done some tracking days with her, and I called her Little Miss Sunshine, but she was she was definitely one of my favorites along the way. Oh, the great thing about my job now is that I think I learn something about a car every single day, whether it's a customer inquiry or just me trying to do some research on a car or just walking past a car and saying, "What is that?" So I think that's one of the most fun things about my job. So, the I'm learning about the Paganis, and then I'm learning about the Lamborghinis. And so the different models of these marques are just, it's endless, really. So I take one little car at a time, and I try to learn a fun fact about each car that I'm learning about or that I have in my presence. So that's the way I look at it because there's so many. It's like infinite, right?
So can customers special order like specific models if they wanted to?
Yes, and that's where I think we do our best work. With the 1/8 scale models, we can do a bespoke livery on that car. So I've recently in the Ferrari Challenge paddock, we've done several 296 Challenge cars, and they look fantastic with the driver's livery and all the sponsorship and all the fun colors that they use. And so, yes, they can order their car exactly the way it goes around the track. So the bespoke models that we make are utter perfection, and that's interior as well.
Marci and I had a great time talking, so there'll be a part 2 to this episode releasing in the coming weeks. Stay tuned.